It is about to get ugly between Macron and JD Vance. We already know that they don't like each other. I think they've both made that very plain, especially with the comment of Macron being a wet blanket, which he is, which he is. But this is where it's really heating up today then. Macron has just dropped a bombshell in retaliation to what he feels is a failure by the EU to actually go after President Trump and JD Vance over these tariffs. He said that we should have fought them. We should have got together and had fought them off with these tariffs. Good luck with that. So he's just dropped a massive bombshell, and he said that the EU should now fight or strike back against the US and go after the big tech firms and their profits. And here's something I prepared earlier for you. This is where it gets pretty crazy. So let me tell you some of the things that he has proposed then, what he says we should do. They should do. Hefty fines of 10 to 20% of global annual turnover. Forcing structural changes, like breaking up services like WhatsApp from Meta, blocking or suspending services then if the EU companies don't comply, or the American companies in the EU don't comply. Digital taxation. France has already pushed for a digital services tax on revenues of these US companies, that are operating in Europe. Basically, the EU doesn't want these US tech companies in Europe because they're not making a lot of profit from them. So this is what this is really about. They're talking about a wider digital tax to roll out on American firms. And the irony is this is 90% of the tech firms are American. So it's going to be hit hard on Americans. Data and privacy then. They are looking to tighten the rules on data transfers outside of Europe. And this could just cripple the US firms. They won't be able to move data back and forth. And remember that they fined Google $8 billion already. And they're now looking to go after the App Store, Microsoft, Amazon's marketplace, all sorts of other things here. That is what they're looking to go after. Now, let's go over to the shared screen and let's pick up on what the media is talking about with this. So here we go. Macron wants the EU to target US big tech after the Trump tariff threat. Look at this guy. Isn't he a tough guy? Oh, so strong. Paris. Macron has told ministers that the EU should consider these retaliatory measures against the US digital sector. This is after President Trump threatened additional tariffs over tech regulation and taxes. So this week he said then that Europe should not exclude taking a look at the digital sector. A person close to Macron confirmed that exploring a possible retaliation against US digital players was indeed his stance. So they're not even denying it. This is his stance. Trump threatened on Monday to impose further tariffs on countries whose digital rules discriminate against American companies. So I think we can say with pretty clear intentions here that this is going to heat up. I know JD Vance is going to be, because he's the tech guy for Trump, because of his background in tech. So he's going to be looking at this very heavily. And I'm sure he is not. I mean, this is just going to be a battle between these two, Vance and Macron. Not much of a battle. It'd be good to see them in the octagon, actually. I think it would probably last a few seconds and he'd tap him out. He'd probably cry. Cry to his wife, cry to his dad, someone anyway. Let's carry on. France has long been at the forefront of European calls to take a tougher line against Trump on trade. However, a majority of EU countries lack the appetite to launch a full-scale trade war. And remember, they've still got this bazooka, as they call it, the anti-coercion instrument that they said they were going to use. We are going to use this against Trump. Did they use it? No, they didn't. This could, with the support of most member countries, be used to restrict IP rights of US tech giants or bar them from the EU entirely. So what did Ursula von der Leyen said then? All instruments are on the table to respond to Trump, but she shied away from taking a hard line to keep him engaged in efforts to end the war in Ukraine. If you believe that, you will believe anything. The bottom line is they don't want this war to end in Ukraine. That's why they're ramping up all the weapons manufacturing. They're making a fortune, these politicians. Don't take my word for it. Look into this for yourself. They're making a fortune because they know what they know before. It's a bit like Nancy Pelosi, the history's best stock investor. Incredible considering she's not actually a stock investor. She's a politician, but somehow she managed to beat Warren Buffett. You know, these people, they're just unbelievable, aren't they? So they don't want this war to end. That's the first thing. So he's said that the French president, is he actually president still? He seems to be like lingering like a bad smell. I'm not exactly sure if he is the president at the minute. Prime Minister, president, we'll have to check that. But he said that, you know, this was not good enough, what they did, and he's now expected to raise the issue with German Chancellor this week during a 2-day stay in Macron's summer retreat. Ooh, very nice. Very nice. I'm sure we all wish we had a nice summer retreat like that. But he's got bigger problems, I would say. The French government is on the verge of collapse. Raises stake of a planned national shutdown. Yes, ladies and gents, if you didn't know this, the French government is borderline about to collapse right now, any day. It can happen probably around the 8th to 10th of September, but it is very close to collapsing. So let me just think this through. I'm Macron. My government's about to collapse. What am I more concerned with? That or getting into a tit for tat with Trump and JD Vance? Let me think here. Does this make any sense to you? What are they saying then? They are very close to, here he goes, here's France's prime minister. So maybe he is the president still. A major test looms for France following the likely collapse of the government on September 8. Increasing numbers of people appear to be heeding the calls of a murky, leaderless crusade for a national shutdown on September 10th. Interesting, and September 13th, of course, is a key day in the UK. The movement, initially made up of a constellation of anonymous anti-government accounts of varying political affiliations, began earlier this summer, reaching the general public good as anger grew over this 43 billion from the 2026 budget and slash 2 bank holidays without offering wage compensation. Yet the French are not going to settle for that. You try and take their bank holidays, you're in big trouble. If people still show up in large numbers, however, Macron will be left to deal with the aftermath. So they just did this poll then. It was commissioned by RTL. Showed 2 in 3 respondents voiced support for shutting down the country on September 10th, including an overwhelming majority of voters on both the left and the right. Goodness me, getting the left and right to agree on something. That's impressive. So he could become the second of Macron's prime ministers to fall in less than a year if he loses next week's vote. Look at this. Look how tough this guy. Look at these photos. He's power. I had a haircut like that when I was about 13, actually, funny enough. So calls for Macron's resignation extend beyond the radical left. It's also the right as well. And everyone's coming out in support of his resignation. Yes, Macron must accept that the French people no longer want him and act like a statesman. That is indeed true. Please drop a comment below what you think of this, and remember to subscribe as we go through the video here. Very important, so you get these videos. Let's carry on. So then, France may need an IMF bailout, they're now saying, warns the finance minister. Ladies and gents, this is going from bad to worse. France has got some big issues, and yet they're poking their nose into America's business. So they're seeking a bailout from the IMF, the International Mafia Fund. And by the way, once you go there, you are in big trouble. You have got to do pretty much whatever the IMF, this three-letter globalist organization, tells you as a country. Look at Greece. They've still never recovered. How long have these summer riots gone on in Greece now over these IMF They've been going on forever. You never get out under the thumb with the IMF. And if you ever want to know, where does their money come from, though? How can they bail out a whole country? Where does that money come from? That is a mystery indeed. It is. I wonder if anyone's ever done an investigation into that on this channel here. Who knows? So yes, they're on the brink of collapse. The long-term borrowing costs hit the highest level since 2011. This is the second collapse within a year, possibly. And what else have we got? Budget deficit is on course to hit 5.4% of GDP this year. He's admitted that asking the IMF to intervene is a risk that is in front of us. Yeah, I'll say it's a risk. Good luck getting out of that from a loan shark like the IMF. France has never received a bailout from the IMF, but the collapse of its government would leave the country in a precarious position with a record debt of 3.3 trillion euros. Here it is, and here's the forecast. Good luck getting out of this. They are in a debt spiral now, ladies and gents. And once you go into a debt spiral, it's very, very difficult to get out of that debt spiral. The country, Macron, he's got his summer villa and he's got all of his, expensive things, and he's got all of his money. He isn't going to care, right? All of these people, the politicians, they're not going to care. It's the people, the citizens, who are going to be on the hook for all of this debt and trying to pay it off forever. It's going to be bad. Let's just say that. But remember, and we've talked about this a lot with the gold and silver stuff and content we've covered. The key thing is that all of these countries are in this debt spiral. Their currencies are going to weaken. They're going to continue to weaken. You could have one or two that strengthen, but let's just put those to the side. The majority are going to weaken. Inflation's going to eat away at your savings, and this is just going to continue. That's why I highly recommend gold and silver. Not all of your money, but a hedge of it. And if you actually want to learn about that as well, I've actually got two courses on it, gold and silver. This is the advanced course, and you can see this is huge. Look how many videos there are in this program. It is absolutely enormous. So for those of you taking the program, we are about to release, here it is, this weekend. It will be picking world-class mining stocks. So that'll be part 1 and part 2. It's about 2 hours there, just of these two sections. We've then got TA, technical chart analysis on gold and silver, exploration. We've got one of the best geologists in the world here, collectibles. There's a lot here. If you want to have a look, just check the description below. This is how you protect your savings. And it's not all just advanced stuff, by the way. There's 2 programs, or you can get the bundle of both programs. The foundation program starts you right at the beginning. Mesopotamia, Egypt, what gold is. It shows you the flow of how it's worked for thousands of years, and it's still part of my portfolio today. All of my clients as well, they all have gold and silver as a hedge. I know a lot of people watching, you will have gold and silver as a hedge. Whether it's physical coins, whether it's you've got it stored in a vault, whether whatever you're doing with it, I think most people have got some exposure. So highly recommend looking at that. There's a 90% off coupon because it's still in the filming. Once that's done, that will come off. So check it out anyway, see if it's good for you. And let's continue on with these stories then. And where were we? Okay, we got to the GDP, the debt levels here. The bonds as well, this is a big one. This has now sent the 30-year French bonds up 3 basis points to a 14-year high of 4.42%. This is the highest level since March here, but this is really high, 4.42. The government can't afford that sort of a rate. It's going to have big problems. Increased volatility and pressure is what's expected on French bonds in the coming days. France's mountainous Look at that for a word. Mountainous debt pile currently eclipses the size of its entire economy, with the IMF's latest forecast suggesting it could hit 116% of GDP this year. There's no way out of that. If you're going into debt by that amount every year, there's no way out. Now, a lot of the French banks as well have been hit badly. BNP Paribas was down 5%. Société Générale shed more than 6%. The CAC 40, actually, let's pull that chart up. You can see since, where are we? Friday here, it was at 7954. It dropped all the way down to 7681. So it's not doing well on the charts at all. And then for everyone going, oh, thank goodness, it's not Britain for a change. Actually, sorry, ladies and gents, but it is. Britain is racing towards an IMF bailout as well. This will be insane. If Britain does an IMF bailout alone, wow. They're saying then that this could be a possibility. The bond market has heard the message. Here we go. So we just showed you the French bonds. Well, this dark blue chart here, that's the UK bonds, 4.7%. So it's actually above Italy and France here. So this is obviously a little bit backdated, as you can see, to August here. But you can see the principle of what's going on. Debt then, the UK's pile of public debt is sitting at 96% of the size of the economy. It's the 5th highest in the developed world. I thought this was quite funny, although it has not recently been getting any worse. Oh, well, thank goodness for that then. And here's the GDP debt to GDP ratio by country. Here's France here, Italy, really bad. It's obviously getting worse every year. The UK, 104%. But there's Greece that everyone always talks about. It's actually been getting better. Greece is reducing while the UK is increasing. And this ratio will obviously get worse if the government needs to borrow more. And that will happen if the budget deficit keeps getting bigger. I think they should say when the deficit keeps getting bigger, because it's obviously going to get bigger. Now, even if either government wanted to increase taxes, both are already squeezing the pips of their economies. Britain's tax take as a share of GDP will reach a record 38% in 2027 to 28, and France is already at 46%. Hopes for spending cuts are complicated by the fact that both leaders have already told President Trump that they will lift defense spending. Yes, defense spending is the way they are going. I just wanted to say as well, thank you for all the new subscribers to the channel. It's so great to have you here. Really appreciate you. I hope you like the streams and the occasional videos here. Yeah, thanks for being a subscriber. Take care. God bless you. God bless your families. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.